Today I will be servicing my Lakewood 1600 DX. I'm going to go ahead and give this a test run, and then we'll take it apart. Start off with low, I think. Yeah. Medium. And high. See how good the spin down time is. Actually, it's pretty good. Now, you don't really have to take the front guard off this to wheel it, but I'm going to do it anyways, just to make the video more interesting. You have 4 screws. You have 4, one on the top here, 2 on either side, and I think there's one on the bottom too. Actually there isn't. There's 5 screws, 2 on the side and 1 on the top. It's kind of an obscure figuration. Leave it to Lakewood. What the heck? These screws are long. Where's the electric one? Does this have a charge? Oh, it does have a charge. That's going to save a lot of time. Now the guard is just going to come right off as soon as the screws are out, so make sure you hold it, otherwise it'll just break off. And there's plastic on these, as you can see there's stuff missing everywhere. These are very brittle, so you don't want it to fall. Okay, that was good. Now the blade on mine is kind of stuck on, but it would just pull off if your blade wasn't stuck on. Next I will undo the motor. That involves undoing this single screw in the back here. Different than the other ones for the gauge. Dial should come right off. Well, should is the key term here. The oscillation thing, I believe, pulls up and off. Yep, it does. And then this cage here, this guard, should just come right off, and then I'll take the knob off too. Okay, so now the motor has to, oh dear, I gotta take an injury break. I think that came from the Galaxy oscillator ate my finger. And we're back. So I gotta take the oscillator off. The switch just kind of comes off here. As you can see, this is really cheap. This was one of Lakewood's last fans. These motors are actually pretty good in this thing. Ouch. But everything else is relatively skimped upon. So let's take all this stuff out. This is the strangest looking capacitor I've ever seen. Oscillator comes off with 3 screws here. I'm going to make sure this is still in the frame. Oh wow, it actually is. That works. And now the oscillator is free. So in terms of lubrication, I'm just going to put some zoom spout in the back shaft, or back bearing. I don't know why I always say that. Using zoom spout. Now, these actually have oil ports on them. That right there is in fact an oil port. It allows oil to go into the cloth, the whatever wicking material in there. So I'm going to add a fair bit of oil into there. And then go ahead and do the same thing in the front. Now it's probably not in focus, or at least not in viewing angle here. Gonna get a new angle. Okay, that is the oil port right there. That little hole. So I'm going to add oil in there. Oops. No. Didn't do that in the back shaft. Of course, now that it's being videoed, it doesn't want to cooperate. And I'm going to add a few drops on the shaft, right in front of the bearing, just because it's got rust on it. I don't want that to get any worse. Okay, now the spin down time is really good. I really don't like that stand. Excellent spin down time. As far as the oscillator goes, I'm going to screw the oscillator back on here. And I'm going to add some oil to the oscillator once it's on. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, there's a screw under here, and I'm going to loosen that screw a little bit to make a gap here, and I'm going to put some oil in the gap, like this. Now I will tighten that back up, but don't make it too tight because it won't work properly. Just enough to make sure that there's just like a fraction of a millimeter gap there, and that's it. That's good enough. And then I'll also add some oil. Is there another screw there? No, there isn't. Also going to add some oil here. And then lastly, add some oil in the, up here. Let's see if it's in frame or not. So it is, but it's not in focus. Okay. I'm going to add some oil on here. Ideally that would be loosened, but I can't get a screwdriver in there to do that. Not really sure that did too much, but tried. And then I also put in some oil right there where the fan meets the stand. Okay, now let's give it a test run here, make sure it's in oscillation mode. I'm going to put it on low so we don't get everything blowing around here. Okay, just let the oil work in there a little bit, and then I'll put the, oops, that was zoomed in, derp der. And I'll put the rear cover back on the motor now. Well, first we got to put this stuff back on the switch, or the switch and also capacitor back in there. There we go. It's getting light. Capacitor goes in first, and the switch slips in here like this. Or does it? Yes. Okay, now this goes on. And when you put this screw in, you gotta be careful because it's going into plastic, not metal, so it strips very easily. Okay, oscillator back on. Dial back on. Now we're ready for the guard to go back on. The guard goes back on relatively easily. Just make sure it's upright here. And then line up the screw holes. Fortunately, mine's kind of busted here. These grills are very, very brittle. Now, I'm going to use the electric driver just to get these in here a little bit, but then I'm going to hand tighten them. Because these are, going in plastic, it'll strip easily. I feel like I say that in every video, but it's true. Okay, and now this is ready to be used. Let's give it a quick test run, and that'll be it for the video. Here's low. Well, apparently we're doing oscillation first. Medium. And high. Spin down test. Yeah, spin down is very good. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and out.